In 2026, a crew of 4 will visit Haven 1 for 2 weeks, launching and docking aboard the proven SpaceX Dragon spacecraft.
It's important for humanity to get out into the stars. I think this is good not only economically, but just good for the human spirit. Humans need a frontier and something to explore.
We will be pioneering in-space manufacturing, unlocking new industries only possible in microgravity. Hello, Earthlings. I'm Diane Brady at Fortune, and I have to say, welcome, Barbara, welcome, Max. Seeing that movie actually made me think of another movie, The Martian, and I think of the least of Matt Damon's problems was probably growing potatoes on Mars. So I just want to start, a bit of a non sequitur, but what do you think is underappreciated for a good life on other planets? I'm going to start with you. And let me guess, food. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I'm building farming systems, so the Martian is very often the comparison that we get when you explain what we do at Interstellar. First thing I want to say is that potatoes are a very bad candidate for food in space because they take a lot of space. They actually grow leaves, and then you have tubercles. So they're actually at the very bottom of the list of the plants we can take. Carrots are much better.
Carrots are better than potatoes, okay.
And to answer your question, I will say nature. We have to bring nature as part of humanity traveling into space. The only humans have been born and raised on Earth, surrounded by nature, and I believe it's going to be hard for humans to become multiplanetary if we're not taking it with us.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think also, what we need to do is do it. We need to get there. We need to send people that are pioneers and are not focused on creative comfort, but adventure and survival. And I think their priority is going to be, how long can they survive? Can they come back, or can they survive until the next mission arrives? And it's going to be an incredibly exciting adventure for people that this appeals to, which there are plenty on Earth.
So it's a personality challenge then. You have to be the right personality to thrive in space.
Yeah, many people ask, why would you go to Mars? And wouldn't it be not so great to be confined to a space? And even if you look on Earth at people that are spending entire years in Antarctica in very small station, they have some of the best time of their lives doing it. And why? Because they are furthering the human race, they're accomplishing personal goals. Not because they have comfort.
Okay.
Same with people going around the world sailing single-handed. So there are plenty of people that are willing to go and ready to go on Earth.
I love that. Well, I want to talk a little bit more about your companies, because we have both the near-term excitement and then, of course, the 30,000-foot or 330,000-foot view as to what's possible. Barbara, you won the NASA challenge for creating food, biotech, and space, and here on Earth. Why is that? Give me a sense as to what you've learned and how it's relevant here.
Well, why do we need to bring plants in space? So first, we want to bring plants in low Earth orbit to study how plants react to the lack of gravity. And so I usually take the example of wine. On Earth, wine, grapes, when they're stressed by too much sun, too less water, then they're more sugary. So the plants react to the environmental condition by generating more of this molecule. By putting a plant on low Earth orbit, we can study how plants react to the lack of gravity, which is the most stressful environment that can be for plants, and which molecules are developed. So there are tons of Earth applications actually for studying that. And then why it really matters? Well, if you want to build a self-sustaining civilization on Mars, this dream is not possible if you don't bring a greenhouse. Why a greenhouse? Because with 50 square meters of plants growing, you can actually scrub all the CO2 from the atmospheric. You can transform the CO2 using the plant into oxygen for one human, and you can provide the food they need. What you need to know also is that prepackaged food, after between 6 to 12 months spent in space because of radiation, they lose their composition, so they don't have the nutrients that humans need to be healthy, to be alive. So if you don't grow plants on Mars, then the dream of becoming multiplanetary will never happen. So that's very important if we are working towards this mission. And I often said that we are the little we are the last one in the chain. You need the rocket, you need the module, you need the propulsion system, you need the life support system, you need everything. And then at the end, people talk a little bit about plant science and bringing a greenhouse on Mars. But without this greenhouse, all of that.
Right, then bring in the predator. Before I move on to Max, how close are we to breakthroughs in this area? Can you give us some sense as to what we might not be appreciating?
So to break through in terms of building a greenhouse on Mars,
Yeah.
well, there are a lot of problems. Solar radiation, so probably they need a lot of work that needs to be done on the shielding, or you have to put the greenhouse under the surface. Temperature on Mars is very cold. Mars is better than Moon. Moon is a nightmare. I want to go to the Moon, but honestly, it's hard to design for a lunar environment. It's much easier to design for Mars environment. So we need to figure out the pressure as well. There is much lower pressure on Mars, and the problem is that we have the CO2, so Mars' atmosphere is 95% of CO2. So we have the CO2, plant takes CO2 and transform it into oxygen. But because there is low pressure in the atmosphere, the fixation of nitrogen, that sounds like complete science fiction for you. The fixation of nitrogen in plants is complicated. So there is the big biological challenge that we need to fix, and for that, we need to do study in low Earth orbit.
And that brings us to the space station, and I'm surprised you didn't say gravity, since I think of artificial gravity, but that's maybe, we'll talk about that later. I am curious about the need for a commercial space station. Talk about the benefits of being a private sector player in an area that has traditionally been, of course, in the government's hands, and we've had this for some years, but talk about your piece of the equation, because it's near term. We're talking next year.
Yeah, I mean, an incredible amount of exploration has been achieved by the government since, obviously, the Apollo era, going to the moon and landing, and then the International Space Station. And the problem with it is that it's non-sustainable. It's too expensive. And so there's been only one real big success in converting a government-owned space system, which was a space shuttle that everybody remembered, and turning it to industry so that it would become 10 to 50 times cheaper. And that big success is the Dragon spacecraft of SpaceX, which really helped reduce the cost. And now they've sent more than 60 people to space for probably the price of one seat on the space shuttle back then. NASA, is now looking to do exactly the same, but not just with the transport. Dragon is the transportation layer, but with the destination, the space station. And so there's an opportunity for companies, including VAST, to win a contract from NASA as early as March next year, and have the honor of rebuilding the International Space Station, but in a way that we own it. We have many other customers. NASA is just an anchor customer, and we reduce the cost through vertical integration, innovation, and a non-government approach for all the taxpayers, but also we can do a lot more with a lot less revenue from customers. Basically.
Since you mentioned taxpayers, I want to, one of the things, when I think about space, it's definitely been a playground for billionaires to some extent. Okay, good. Well, but I'm curious, how much do we think about the democratization of space in terms of how people think about it, they care about it? I want you to disagree with me. Barbara, how do you think about it? Even being French, is that an advantage in this environment versus being American or, say, Chinese?
So the company, we're a US company with a French subsidiary.
Right.
We have the structure so we can collaborate with NASA, and at the same time, also, I'm being fully transparent here, and also benefit from French and European programs. So that's a very good structure. It was not supposed to happen. It happened because of COVID, and I was forced to fly back to France from the US, which, by the way, COVID was an amazing training for people to become astronauts. We were in lockdown for many months.
The pandemic helped us all imagine life on Mars. Okay, good.
Yeah, well, and a lot of people were cultivating plants that helped them psychologically during the pandemic. But so being French is so we're US with French subsidiary. I love how the French, especially right now, navigate with their politics. I will say that it helps with international collaboration. If we can talk about, the war with the space race with China, and which is true. And I think because I'm French, I get to take a little bit of public opinion about it, but I'm working with the Americans, so it's very clear how we're working. But,
And back to the point of the billionaires to clear the air.
I love billionaires.
Without Elon Musk in 2022 founding SpaceX, not yet a billionaire at the time, America would still be dependent on Russia to send people on space station. Launch would be a lot more expensive for everybody, and many other, we would have no shot at Mars. No one would be working on that. So if you look at VAST, our opportunity to create commercial space station exists because of the Dragon spacecraft being available commercially. So we have to thank their creation, the creation of SpaceX, for even our existence. So I think we should be thankful to. Obviously, Elon has had the biggest impact to the space industry. Jeff Bezos with Blue Origin, will soon have a big impact when his rocket, New Glenn, comes online. But these are amazing use of their funding and resource to help us explore the star and to also save taxpayer money to providing, investing all this cash to reduce the cost of access to space.
Does it matter if the Chinese get in ahead of us? What difference does it make since we're talking about humanity?
It's I might have an accent, by the way. I'm a thankful naturalized citizen living in LA and a very proud patriot. Right now we have our International Space Station, which is aging, due to be retired in 5 years, also very expensive. And China has launched a space station a few years ago, which is now permanently crewed and fully operational and successful. So when we retire the ISS, if we don't have commercial player replacing it and exceeding the capability of the Chinese space station, we will be behind, right? And so that's a big concern. We do not want to cede low Earth orbit to China. We've been there as the Western world for 20 plus years permanently, and so we can't let that happen. Also, as you might know, there's a race to the moon, and there's concerns and question who will be first on the moon. I'm confident American innovation will win, but it's a big debate right now in the US government and a concern of the Trump administration, rightly so.
Now, I know this is a fascinating topic, and I want to give the audience a chance to ask your questions. Does anybody have some? So I believe we have a mic runner, or you can project. Oh, wait, back there and then over here. Hi, and if you don't mind just introducing yourself quickly.
Sure. Hi, my name is Dan Gill. I'm with a company called Carvana. So I'm jealous that you get to think about these topics all day, every day. It's fascinating and inspiring, so thank you for sharing. I was thinking about the quote that's attributed to Bill Gates, we overestimate what we can do in 1 year, we underestimate what we can do in 10. And how you think about 10 years from now. What are the breakthroughs that are underway? What's happening that's going to really change the opportunities for what you're pursuing, and what gives you optimism about how much progress we'll make over the next decade?
Great.
I mean, for us as a platform, as a developer of space infrastructure, the first big impact is we expect this new SpaceX rocket, Starship, the biggest rocket ever built, to be operational. That will allow us to bring bigger space station in space, also bring many more crews to our space station at a much lower cost. And also we expect that we will be on Mars and of course the moon. So all of this, including our space station and first in low Earth orbit, and doing all of the microgravity research and science, we expect basically a creation of a space economy. Our piece right now is the low Earth orbit economy, but all of this will become true by then. We hope that pretty much every corporation on Earth will have a space strategy, will be involved somehow with space. And then for our own roadmap, we have a long-term plan to enable the world's first, or humanity's first, artificial gravity space station through spinning, which will allow people to stay in space on space station for more than 6 months.
Don't we lose our muscle if we don't have enough gravity up there?
Yeah, right now, if you're a professional...
All about the longevity economy here, too. So.
If you're a professional NASA astronaut and you train for 2 hours every day on the ISS, after 6 months, you have bone loss and muscle loss, and it takes you weeks or months to recover. No one has really been in space in microgravity for a lot more than a year. I think a year and 4 months is the record.
Okay.
And so with artificial gravity through spinning, the hope is that people will be able to stay in space station indefinitely, maybe live an entire lifetime.
Okay.
That's the future we want to help create.
Anything quickly? I want to give people a chance to ask some more questions. Anything you want to add?
No, I say I agree with everything that Max said, and people are often criticizing the timeline in space, saying we're a little bit too optimistic on when we're going back to the moon, going to Mars, and in the Starship development. Well, the thing is, if you define very short-term deadlines, then you get everybody going. And that's what's happening right now. We all agree on this. We all know it's going to take longer than what it's planned, but we all know that. But at the same time, we define precise timeline, so we make sure all the engineering team are working together from all the different companies, whether it's SpaceX, VAST, Interstellar, Astrolab, and everybody knows. And so we're having this 10 years plan, and then let's see how it's going to unfold. But at least everybody is just pushing the pressure.
Motivating. We had a question over here. Hi.
Hi, I'm Vinod with Samsung, working as an investor. I'm humbled by the work you do for both from a nationalistic perspective and forefront of technology. It's hard for me as an investor even to see what's AI 2 years from now. So I'm very curious to understand, when can we have space tourism, even if it's LEO, simple things for the mass market, like a GPD moment for this?
Right.
We're not in the era of space tourism. Right now, the opportunity, most of the revenue will be from government astronauts, from the existing nations that are involved in the ISS, and then all the emerging human spaceflight nations that are investing today. So that's the first step. The next step will be people are going to space to work, whether they are working in a
I'm
pharmaceutical...
getting the sense you're a workaholic here. Wait, when do we have space tourism? I want to be a space tourist.
We talk about saving resource on Earth.
I'm going to go to Barbara then. Barbara, when are we going to have space tourism?
Well, the way we make money is not through space tourism, it's actually through terrestrial application. Right now, there is nobody on Mars or the Moon to buy a greenhouse from Interstellar, so I had to figure out a business model. And the business model was to adapt high-precision farming system for terrestrial problems. And on Earth, well, we have a lot of problems with agriculture, use of resources, the use of water, the land. And so we spin off our technology to develop a farming system for Earth application. So that's how we make money. We make money with cosmetic company. We work with L'Oreal is our biggest customer. We grow rare flowers for them. They use in perfume and cream. And that's the business case. Then business in space. Well, especially for us, for the farming system, it's going to be research in low Earth orbit. This is how we make money, by selling to governments and research institute and private company. Then the business case for a greenhouse on Mars, we will have to build it together.
The answer is get a job, sir, and then you'll get to space. Stop trying to buy your way there. You got to be useful. Does anybody else have a question for our great? Go ahead. Hi.
Hi, Venk Vardhan with Nanoware, cardiometabolic digital diagnostics at home. Astrophysics and healthcare, I think, to me, are very similar in the sense that it's long to get to market. You have to invest so much in R&D and some of the top talent in the world, but also have a very coherent message and sales strategy for both marketing and purchasing. And on the former side, you can't get it wrong, right? Or people will die. You have to be at 99%. Curious on newer technologies on acceleration of this, because you may not need 500 or 1,000 actual quantum physicists or rocket scientists like we did 20, 30 years ago when the computer can kind of do everything. And I'm kind of curious on the greenhouse aspect of that. How much can actually be done and accomplished from pure just mathematical rote modeling? We know what we're solving
Agentic
for.
space travel.
Yeah.
Well, thanks to AI, you need much less people, and the computing required is, we need much less. Well, I'll give you an example. We used to be we're a small company compared to Max and what VA's doing. We're seed stage, 40 people, and we teamed up with different goods, but we're still a small company. We went to 70 people, and then I reduced the staff for different reasons, and then we pulled a lot of AI tools. And we're actually not going to hire more people, because it's just, we have amazing tools. In less than a month, we completely changed our interface for the user, and we just had our designer designing the new interface, and then an AI just plugged in everything with our code and talking and taking control of our greenhouse. And we did that very quickly. So I think there's going to be less and less recruitment needed for what we're developing, and you have to be aware of what's going on in AI and just interfacing your technology with existing tools.
Even less chance to go to space potentially then. I'm just kidding. But no, I'm very excited. I want to give each of you a chance to give some final thoughts as to what you want people to take away, what you're thinking about, what's on your radar you'd put on ours. I'm going to start with you, Max.
Yeah, first we'll be launching next year the world's first commercial space station and opening this era of commercial space for space station. And so we want to encourage anyone with any company and any services, a key one is pharmaceutical, to really think about what's their strategy in space, how can they leverage microgravity and space to enhance their business model, create new product. And so that's never been done. The only other platform that exists are the government. It's very expensive. You have to wait for many years before you can send anything to space. And so everybody in the industry and adjacent industries are excited about what will happen when somebody commercial is operating a space station. So inviting all sectors and all companies to engage with us and think through their strategies.
Right. Barbara?
Space is a huge opportunity, and we are very excited to team up with VAST. So you guys are taking one of our small payloads in your station. You're going to have plants orbiting the Earth for 3 years. We're going to conduct tons of experiments and maybe figure out new molecules that can grow in plants. So very, very exciting times ahead. The decommissioning of the ISS, low Earth orbits becoming private, that's really needed. And space is a huge opportunity. We still have to build all the business cases. But it's also a lot of opportunity to bring technology back on Earth, and how we can spin off some of that to make a better place here.
Great. Please join me in thanking Barbara and Max. And
Thank you so much.
yeah, I loved it.
Thank you.